Okay, so now we're going to do soldering and brazing. So we're going to talk about what's soldering, what's brazing, how we apply it, and then we'll have a project we'll do outside. So soldering is the joining process that takes place above 840. Right? I'm sorry, above. So it's below 840 degrees. In actual practice, we're looking at between 350 to 550.
Soldar necesitas aunque sea mínimo un trabajo de 840, pero la práctica es de 50 a 50.
Oh, no. Okay, and then brazing is above 840, and it's more than likely between 1100 to 1500. Right?
Brandon, in a few simple words, can you tell us what soldering is and brazing is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the same exact process, right? So the difference between the two is the temperature that I have to heat to and the type of filler metal, or when in case the stick or the actual solder, what we're gonna melt to make the joint stick together. That's the difference. Okay, so this is important for our test, the joining process, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to measure, we want to cut. Number two is we want to ream. So reaming is there's a tool, or you can use the end of a knife. We just clean the pipe, so we don't have any burrs or anything like that, right? Number three is actually cleaning, some light emery cloth, anything like that. We want to really make sure it's clean. Number four is fluxing. So flux acts like a primer, right? So we put that in the socket first, we'll heat up, that's going to liquefy. When we heat the piping and the solder is going to go to where the flux is. So you got to put a nice clean coat. Number five, we want to assemble and support. So you want to put it all together and then support it. Right. Number six, we want to heat it. All right, this is where the torch comes into play. All right, we want to be careful as we'll practice a little bit before. I have a project for you guys to make something you can take with you. But you don't want to heat it too much. If you heat the copper too much, it'll burn it. All right. Number seven, we want to apply the filler metal. Now for soldering, we'll put solder in there. For brazing, this is where the difference comes. So depending on how hot it is, it has to get to a certain temperature for that to melt. Right? Then after, we want to cool it and we want to clean it. Another thing to think about, if we do solder a system together, and for some reason the temperature increases above that 250 degrees, more than likely the joints are going to come apart, right? Because I can take a torch to any soldered joint, heat it up, and pull it apart, right? They're not permanent. They're permanent in a sense is if we don't increase the temperature, but if I put the high temperature on, I can pull anything apart, right?